went to SMU like every good person. And he was on the soccer team and track team. SMU. A little bit behind. 77 days.
Some other councils are more effective than we are. That's
Going to watch him play basketball. My mother was a professor. And my grandfather was in the first class. A lot of the other people were It was Spanish, but Spanish American. So you had to speak Spanish to take it. Except for 1 year I was there, I went to class. And I was supposed to take it from Spanish to get PCA basically. From Colombian. She didn't show up. 20 or 30 minutes in, wondering whether we should leave. And all of a sudden, my father was there. And she was classic. Good news is bad news. News. I'll give you the good news. Good news is we are going to have some classes on like bad news is at least one person has it. Because I'm going to be the principal. I stood up and started to walk out. I hit the door and she goes, stop. Turn around and come out. I turned around, came on the table, and spun me around. She said, class, this is my youngest son out. We know it's going to be hard just getting out.
Happy Friday, welcome. How's everybody doing? Can you believe August is almost over? Really amazing. Well, welcome to the Rotary Club of Park Cities. We are so happy that y'all are here. And if you'll please rise, Mr. HEITKAMP is going to provide the invocation pledge and take the next one.
Thank you, President Happy. Do we have any joys or concerns today? Go Carol Dragons. I didn't want to say it. All right, well, if you would bow your heads with me. Father, we praise you for your provision and for propelling us into our callings by unveiling our strengths and weaknesses. Help us to listen, learn, and seek you in all we do, for we desire to steward our gifts well. Every good gift comes from you, Father. Let us not look to the right or to the left, but upwards to you and through your perspective of love. Protect us from idols and remain seated on the throne of our hearts. All good things we do flow from you and your love. Father, in this broken world, you have a good plan for us. Help us to remain calm on days that don't line up with our plans. Forgive us, for we fail so often to submit them to you and run great risk of following the ways of the world. Daily, protect us from distancing ourselves from your voice. May we be stirred to seek you first and listen to your wise leading on our lives. We are built to crave you, Father. It's your presence that drives us, whether we realize it or not. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the
I'd like to introduce two people. This is Dr. Ted Campbell, our speaker for today, and there'll be more later. But I'd also like to introduce his wife, Dale Marie Campbell.
I'd like to introduce Matthew Solid. He's the district executive for the Park Cities for the Serpentine Council, Boy Scouts of America.
We're also really thrilled to introduce Laura and Blair a little bit later. We're really thrilled that y'all are here. Thank you. Welcome. Marketplace advertising. Kyle Marmillion is going to highlight me. This feels kind of weird.
You better say it correctly. That's right. No errors.
I have notes here for a reason. All right. Thank you, President Happy. Today's Marketplace sponsor is Happy Franklin. We all know Happy for her leadership, energy, and power of connecting people. Today we highlight her work with Securities America's Navigation Financial Group. Happy has been a financial advisor and Rotarian since 2001. She was the charter president of the Rotary Club of Dallas Uptown in 2009. She graduated from Texas Tech with a business and law degree. Happy enjoys working with individuals, families, and business owners. She has clients all over Texas and in many states. She has 4 designations and Happy offices in the Tollway Towers, at Arapahoe, and the Tollway. Happy enjoys helping her clients with their financial planning, educational planning, life insurance, long-term care insurance planning, and investment planning. She enjoys hosting a monthly lunch networking group and a bi-monthly seminar series. Happy is a sustainer in the Junior League of Dallas and a chair of the Park City Club Women's Exchange. Please let her know if you know anyone who is interested in joining the Junior League of Dallas or the Park City Club. Happy thanks you in advance for going all in with your involvement in the Rotary Club and Rotary this year. Please help me thank Happy for her support of Rotary.
This is one of my favorite parts of the meeting. So we have Happy Bucks. If you'll share what you're really happy about today, I am really happy that we have 2 new members that we're introducing. One of them is a former member of our club. I'm just so excited about that. The money from Happy Bucks goes towards our honorees that we recognize monthly. So I would love for you to have some to share your great news. Miss Bobby.
So I have 2 things, so this is done. My 3.5-year-old grandson finished his first week of preschool. He called me and said, Bob, and he calls me Bob. Calls you Bob? I went to preschool and it was no fun at all. It was no fun, Bob. Tomorrow I'm coming to your house. We're going to make chocolate cupcakes and swim in the pool. That's fun. So the other thing, for the past 6 months I've had some picky medical stuff going on. And the Happy Bucks are because yesterday I went to the doctor and they said I'm good.
Wow, congratulations. That's great news.
I have 2 sons, Troy and Scotland. Scotland's youngest, but he has one at A&M, College Station, chemical engineering. The girl is at OU, and the youngest one, Chase, interviewed me last night. He called in the night before and he said, Nanny, can I set up an interview time with you tomorrow evening? And I said, that'd be fine. He said, I want to talk about our Greek heritage. So I spent an hour with him. Fantastic. Spend more time with your kids if
exciting. And now we're going to move to the section we're going to introduce our two new members, Tyler Holcom, if you'll come forward, and PHILLIP Bankhead and Alan WINN, if you'll be here at the ready.
I'm the youngest son of 5 boys. My father, Ed Wynn, some of you will remember, used to be a president here for years. And I'm an attorney at the WINN Law Firm, is the name of the firm. And come from a family full of lions.
We won't hold that against you.
Yes. Anyway, thank you very much.
PRIESTMAN is going to tell us who he is and what he does. He's going to give his new member speech, and as Tyler will soon be doing for us. Come on up, Mr. JR. Either way.
Okay, great. Thank you, President Happy. So let's see. I moved to Dallas back in February on the day of the snowstorm.
You brought it.
Good time.
Yeah, exactly. We literally were driving down the highway, trailing it behind us. So, I'm originally from Glen Ridge, New Jersey, which is a small town on the commuter line to New York City. Yeah, exactly. Went to Clemson University after high school, moved up to Boston, then moved to Charlotte, then to Atlanta for 6 years, and now I'm here, hopefully permanently for a few decades. I've got 2 toddler boys that are 2 and 4 years old, so our move was really driven by getting them closer to family. We've got some cousins here in the area, so we wanted to be much closer to them. You know, what do I want you guys to know about me? You know, I kind of went through all the regular normal stuff in my head. I like college football. I'm obviously a Clemson football fan. That's been easy over the last decade. I like restaurants. I like coffee shops. I like going to the aisles in Central Market, picking out the latest chips or craft ice cream that they have there.
Ice cream?
Ice cream. But you know, something that Paul gave a member minute speech a couple weeks ago where he said, if you like people, then you'll like Rotary. And that really resonated with me. Obviously, I've been someone who's moved around a lot over the years, and so every time I move to a new city, I have to meet new people. which, as it turns out, is not hard because there's a lot of people everywhere. But what's really hard is converting people into friends. And so I think that the best way for me to do that is to usually work on something with somebody. And so Rotary gives me a lot of opportunity to do that. You guys here have done that just within the last 6 months. I've been able to work on the 4th of July parade and meet a lot of you up front with the badges. So I really appreciate my time here. Thank you guys for making me feel welcome in Dallas and in this club.
That's an excellent point. I was thinking about that myself the other day. Now, one of my favorite people in the club, I didn't actually get to know until I started serving with him on leadership, and that's Richard Stanford. You know, it's when you get to volunteer alongside people that you really get to know them. So, thank you so much, Richard. And now, Stan Ryan is going to tell us about the peanut butter drive.
Well, big surprise, I'm here to talk to you about North Texas Food Bank. What we're doing, got two different things I want to talk to you about. One, in the month of September, Food Bank is going to do a food drive for peanut butter, which is a pantry staple, they say. And last time we did they're trying to collect 300,000 pounds of it. So, that's right, that's a lot. 300,000, yeah. Can't even read my own notes, yeah. So that means everybody's got to step up and bring me some peanut butter. Now you can do it in two different ways. You can bring a jar of peanut butter up here, and we will collect it, and we're going to give it to them by the end of you'll have until the end of September. Or there's another way to do it that Happy has sent out an email about. If you go on there and click about the middle of it, it says click to donate. Real easy to send it. Click to donate, and when you go in there, you can buy a jar of peanut butter for anywhere from 10 to on up, I don't know, 30, I don't know. Anyway, just pick your category, easy weasy way to do it, and they can both buy it. So that's two different ways to do it. So we hope you'll help us with this peanut butter drive during the whole month of September. The other thing we'll talk to you about are how many people volunteered, if we did it like in April, to out in the, we did a packing day at the North Texas Food Bank. And we had about 40 people that came out there. So which is great. So the rest of you slackers can, I'm sorry, the rest of you members can come and help us this time. I never know what we're going to do out there. The last time we went, well, there's a picture right there. Good. They had this drive a few months ago out at the food bank out in Plano, and they had all these peanut butter jars that they had collected. What we had, our job was to unscrew each one to make sure that the seal was still sealed. And so that was our job. A lot of people are still recovering from. I shouldn't bring it up. That's not real positive. I think I'm happy. Have you recovered yet?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anyway, so that is going to be Saturday, October the 16th, from 9 to about 12 o'clock. So I'll get the sign up out. They usually do it about 30 days ahead of time. So I never know. That's a food bank has to do that. We have to go through their system. So they will send that to me anytime in the next, say, week. So bring some peanut butter, please. Or pardon?
Plastic, not glass.
Plastic, not glass. That's right, thank you. The easier way to do it is to go on the email that we sent out and you can donate online. Thank you.
I'm really excited about this peanut butter drive, and the reason is not everybody here is able to join us at the Food Bank Day or join us at various different service projects, but everybody has a phone or can do it at their computer or can bring peanut butter to the club. And so I think it's a great way to have 100% participation from our club by participating in the peanut butter drive. So if you brought peanut butter today, or you want to bring peanut butter next week, or any Friday in September, you can bring it over there. The bags and boxes will be over there next to Laurie's table. The only amendment I have is the North Texas Food Bank has rules and regulations. That link, unfortunately, doesn't start until September 1st. And so I'll send out a new link for you, because some of you out here have already tried it. Yeah, y'all are on the ball. What's wrong with this link? And so I'll send a new email today. I apologize for the inconvenience. You can still contribute, and then they will move those funds over to the peanut butter drive on September 1st. But it's all about competition. They don't want these corporations getting mad because somebody else started early. So I was telling them that we're not really interested in competing. We just want to be the best. And so I'll get that out to you today. Thank you in advance for your participation. Ms. Joy is going to tell us about PCRConnect.
Hi everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Joy and I am going to be doing a quick announcement for you all today. So I'm standing before you to talk about PCRConnect. So for those of you who don't know, we meet once a month as kind of like a networking event to kind of get to know each other on a little bit more intimate level. And do I have anybody in here who kind of likes Tex-Mex, tacos, Mexican food? I see a couple of hands. So hopefully you all can join me on Wednesday, September the 15th at Mazzaro. Now, if you're not familiar with the restaurant, I'm sure everybody here knows what the Trader Joe's is, the like the Preston Hollow Village. It's right in that complex. So we're going to be meeting on September the 15th from 5 to 7 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Okay?
Is something happening on August 20th?
That's the wrong day.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Ignore that.
Yes. So September 15th for this. All right. Thank you.
Join us for chips and drinks. Oh, that's going to be fun. And now, without any further ado, we have two people to introduce, and Major Todd Hawks is going to come up and introduce our honoree today and her supervisor. I'm so excited. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
President Happy, I'm going to invite, if you will, Laura Collins to come to the platform, please. And Blair, would you also join her? Raise that. It's my privilege to introduce this month's HP honoree, who is Laura. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Laura. Laura Collins joined the town of Highland Park's library staff in November 2018. And since then, she has become a favorite with the library patrons as well as their co-workers. She has the ability to instantly make all visitors feel welcome and comfortable, asking for help while visiting the library. During the COVID-19 pandemic, they completely transformed the library's in-person youth programs into popular virtual events. For example, she created a series of go-to craft kits for children and teens available for curbside pickup while the library was closed. The kits included all the needed supplies along with the information to access an online video tutorial that Laura filmed and edited herself. She also hosts twice weekly toddler story time via Facebook Live and monthly virtual crafternoons. Say that 2 or 3 times. Crafternoons. There you go. In partnership with the University Park Library, due to her many efforts to continue providing educational and entertaining program during the pandemic, Laura was named the 2020 Highland Park Employee of the Year. Would you join me in welcoming this month's HP recognition? I'm going to invite Sean to join me with Happy, and we'll have a photo.
I just have one quick question. Who's Chewy?
He's my Pomeranian.
Wow.
Yes.
So does he get to go to school with you?
He did some live story times with me from home.
That's awesome. It's Laura and Chewy.
Y'all ready? Let's give her another round of applause.
We're also very appreciative of Blair. She coordinates the honorees for us each month. Thank you so much. Announcements. You can sign up online for Pat Peterson. She's going to be bringing her enormous talents to Chocolate Secrets. It's going to be lots of fun. Saturday, September 18th, lots of chocolate, lots of singing, lots of fun. It's going to be great. They also have great coffee and all kinds of other great food. It's going to be lots of fun. Saturday, September 18th, 7:30 to 11. And we have a sign-up sheet out front. I would love for you to consider being a photographer. We want to have people taking pictures of you bringing peanut butter in front of the red carpet screen each week. It's going to be lots of fun. We'll post your picture. And so sign up to be a photographer for the red carpet screen.
Happy, we have a new proposed member of the photographer. Where's David? Ruben?
Is David here?
Yeah, he's over there.
David, welcome. Well, we don't want you to have to do it every week. We don't want this to make it feel like it's work for you. I'm sorry?
Oh,
yeah. We'll try to make it quick. Well, we're so glad that you're joining. Good deal. So we need two things. We need some more photographers to take pictures of the red carpet screen. So when you come in, you have a picture, you can post it on social media. It's going to be lots of fun. Bring your peanut butter, get your picture taken with your peanut butter in front of the screen. And then we also need some Sergeant at Arms. Next Friday, if you're interested in joining the Sergeant at Arms team, if you'll be here between like 11:15, 11:20, we'll have a training session. We're going to have a video. We need some help getting the red carpet screen up each week and each of our 6 banners. That's the only thing that we have to like think about is when we win so many awards, we also have to have people put them up and take them down. So we really need your help. It's lots of fun, and we want to have lots of people doing it. So it's you may only have to do it like once a month, and it's not complicated and it is fun. It's a great way to get to know other people. So please sign up. And without any further ado, Ms. Pam Carvey is going to introduce our really distinguished speaker.
Our speaker today is going to talk on the discipline of the tongue, guarding our speech. I thought that was very interesting, and I noticed in the hub that Betty came up with a couple of quotes that maybe you all have read, but if you haven't, this is one by Herman Melville. A man thinks that by mouthing hard words, he understands hard things. And another thing by Voltaire, there are some that only employ words for the purpose of disguising their thoughts. These were put in by Betty, who won this wonderful award here, the best bulletin in the entire district. So we love Betty. There are always good quotes. We need to just make sure we do kind of read them periodically. So last February, I was reading the Dallas Morning News on a Sunday morning, and I came across an opinion column, and I read it with great interest. The title was Speak No Evil, and it was talking about verbal violence. So it happened to be written by Dr. Ted Campbell, our speaker today. He is a historian, he's an award-winning author, he's an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church. He's been a pastor, has taught at theological school, he served as a president of a seminary. He now serves as the Albert C. Outler Professor of Wesleyan Studies at the Perkins School of Theology at SMU, right here near us. He has very many published works, and you can read about those in the hub. And in addition, he's won many, many awards. There's a couple I wanted to mention. The 2016 Distinguished Service Award of the United Methodist Church General Commission on Archives and History,
the 2018 Saddlebag Award from the United Methodist United Society, and in 2018 he was also elected a Fellow of the Royal Historical Society of the United Kingdom. Without further ado, I don't want to spend any more time. I'm going to let you guys hear from Dr. Fred Campbell.
Well, thank you very much, and it is a delight to be with y'all today here at Park City's Rotary Club. I appreciate the opportunity. I have family connections to Rotary. I had a rather beloved great uncle, Leroy Williams, who served as a vice president for Rotary International back in the early 1960s. And in that capacity, Uncle Leroy made a trip to Soviet Moscow with an international Rotary delegation. Our family heard about his trip and viewed his photos with something like astonishment back in the days of the Cold War when things were really tough. And it was so interesting to hear how he had tried to be an ambassador of goodwill between the United States and the Soviet Union even in that time. The thing I like best about Rotary is what I think you will conclude with today. It's the fourfold test, the four-way test. And in fact, as Pam Carter has mentioned, on Sunday, February 14th, just as we were digging out of that winter storm that J.R. Priestman referred to, the Dallas Morning News printed that commentary that I had written on in the Living Our Faith series. I thought of it as being about ending the cycles of verbal violence, and I concluded that article by citing the Rotary four-way test. The four-way test addresses the issue of verbal violence. Watch the old films from the 1930s that show Adolf Hitler speaking and addressing crowds. You can feel the violence coming out of him. And then, if you will, think of the violence that his words incited throughout the world. One person and their words could set on fire a great deal of the world in the 1930s and the 1940s. As a matter of fact, it's fascinating for me to think about the fact that in about 1932, 1933, precisely when Hitler was coming to power, a man named Herbert J. Taylor was actually putting together the four-way test. And it's fascinating to think that he might have been watching those kinds of videos of what was happening in Germany at his time. Violence in one form incites violence in other forms. Verbal violence can incite physical violence, and who will end that cycle of violence? The four-way test is a good way to counter the violence that our tongues can incite. It's a kind of a discipline of the tongues, and I have to say, of our keypads also in our time. Here's why I think it's particularly relevant today. I am old enough to remember when there were only 3 television networks available in my hometown of Beaumont, Texas. Now, y'all Dallas people may have had public broadcasting back then, but we didn't have it yet in Beaumont. We got the evening news from those 3 news feeds, and they pretty much told the same story. Now we have tons of networks, options available, but tons of options means that we can select our own channels or groups. We can hear just what we want to hear. We don't have to encounter any other perspectives. It's what some people call the segmentation of media in our age. Segmentation puts us in little boxes or little bubbles where we can hear just what we want to hear and where we can say what we want to say about people and perspectives we don't care for. We can become heroes in our little boxes by bashing our opponents to bits with words. I don't do that myself, except I do it in my mind. And that's just about as problematic, you know, when you're just thinking up the magnificent stuff you could say about people who aren't listening to you, or you imagining that they're not listening. But is it true? Is it fair? Will it build goodwill and friendships? Will it be beneficial to all? In little segmented bubbles, we're not accountable to anyone else, certainly not to questions like those. We need something like that four-way test. I understand that when Herbert J. Taylor first developed that test in the 1930s, he first shared it with 4 corporate directors, each of whom represented a distinct and different religious tradition. They all agreed on these principles. That's not surprising to me. Religious traditions recognized verbal violence and tried to form believers in what I believe is the really difficult discipline of avoiding verbal violence. There's a saying from Jesus in the Christian Gospels that speaks of what comes out of our mouths. Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth enters into the stomach and goes out into the sewer? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this is what defiles. For out of the heart come evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, and slander, and these are what defile a person. Now, I hate to mention this at a lunch meeting, but I think that's actually a puke joke, right? It's not what goes in your mouth that defiles you, it's what comes out of your mouth that makes you filthy. What elementary school educators might call sometimes elimination humor, sort of putting that big category on things that elementary kids, especially boys, are likely to say. But the point is that what comes out of the mouth and the heart is what can defile us, what can make us filthy. So I want to say 3 things that religious traditions teach about the discipline of guarding our speech by way of encouraging you to live into the four-way test. Number 1, religious traditions teach us in the first place to fill our souls and our mouths with good things, not bad things. What is the first thing that a Jew says in the morning when she rises up from her bed, in the evening when she lies down on her bed, and what she is supposed to say with her last living breath? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai alone. She says good words, words that have come to us down the centuries. She says what is most important. She says the word Adonai, Lord, because she has been taught that there are some words that are so holy that they should not be pronounced. Following a Jewish tradition that also became a Christian tradition, she does not pronounce the mysterious 4-letter name of God that appears in the text of that scripture. Religious traditions teach us to fill our tongues and our hearts with central affirmations like the Shema Yisrael. For Christians, that might mean the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed, or even a phrase like, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy upon me, a sinner, the Jesus prayer. For Muslims, it might be the affirmation called the Shahadah. For Jews and Christians and Muslims, it will mean filling our minds and our hearts with memorized scriptures that we can recite over and over again because we fill our hearts with good things. We fill our tongues and our hearts in the first place with these good things, with the praise of God, the commandments of God, the challenge to love our neighbors, all our neighbors, not just the ones in our media bubbles, just as we love ourselves. Second, religious traditions teach us to tell the truth. There's an old commandment you've probably heard of, and it says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." That's a commandment affirmed by Muslims, Christians, and Jews as well. We have to tell the truth. Somebody mentioned the Boy Scouts. Yes, sir, I was a Boy Scout. Number 1, a scout is trustworthy, and we were taught that that meant we always tell the truth, and we always keep our promises, right? There's a whole list of 12 things that we said as Boy Scouts. That was the number one thing. We are obliged to tell the truth, even if it hurts us, even if it's not fun. The Quran consistently teaches the followers of Muhammad to be truthful. And the Muslim teacher Ali ibn al-Hussein said, refrain from lying in all things, big or small, serious or in jest. For when one starts lying in petty matters, little things, soon he will have the audacity to lie in important matters as well. I recall a saying attributed to Texas politician Sam Rayburn. Some of you at my generation can remember Senator Sam Rayburn from Bonham. He said, son, always tell the truth. Then you'll never have to remember what you said the last time. Right? But it's a discipline. And it means that even when we're inside of our media boxes, our social media bubbles, we'll have to tell the truth. Third, religious traditions teach us to speak of others as if they were present to us. Verbal violence affects how we speak of other people. Now, I spend most of my time studying the Methodist founder, John Wesley, also one of the founders of the Salvation Army, since the Army is represented here. I hold the title of the Albert C. Outler Professor of Wesley Studies at SMU. Well, John Wesley, who lived from 1703 to 1791, preached a sermon on the topic of the cure of evil speaking. And he defined evil speaking in a very interesting way. He defined evil speaking as, and I quote, speaking evil of an absent person. Got it? Speaking evil of an absent person. You can say anything you want about a person face to face, eyeball to eyeball. But you can't do that in any case where they're not there to answer for themselves. Can you imagine what the world would be like if we tried to follow that piece of advice? So if a politician calls her opponent a fascist or a communist or a QAnon supporter or a socialist without any evidence for that, doesn't that amount to bearing a false witness? And would she be able to say any of those things in the presence of the person she's talking about if where they didn't, where they had a chance to actually answer for themselves? Part of guarding our speech is thinking about the implications, not just what we say, but as you may have heard your parents say before, what are the implications of what you're saying? A verse from the Quran says, the prophet said, a man might speak a word without thinking about its implications, but because of it, he will plunge into hellfire further than the distance between east and west. So we fill our mouths with good things, we tell the truth, we're careful about how we speak of others. Those are just three things that religions, traditions teach about guarding our speech, and there's a lot more as well. But then again, I have to be honest in saying that religious traditions can also be guilty, very guilty, about inciting violence. Scriptures can be used to justify hatred. They certainly have been guilty in that way. Our students at the School of Theology at SMU have to deal with those uncomfortable truths. But verbal violence is a monster from hell. We can send this monster back to hell by finding the grace to speak good and truthful words. The four-way test is a great way to start. So God have mercy on us and help us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Can you give us the gist of your book, The Sky is Falling, The Church is Dying, and Other False Alarms?
Okay, that's a book I wrote for my Sunday school class here in Dallas, and it's following the oft-repeated, over-repeated story that mainline Protestant churches are dying, and that if you showed up at Highland Park Presbyterian or Highland Park Methodist today, you'd see a bunch of wrinkled up old farts about to die, breathing into their breathers and arguing about gay people or something like that. If you show up, you're going to find, our Lovers Lane United Methodist Church, you're going to find something very different than that. It's become a kind of explosive myth, and in fact, a lot of recent statistical data, even since I wrote that book, are showing that's not true. What really happened, and it's kind of strange, but as a historian, I love strange things, it's that in the 1940s and 50s, there was a very abnormal blip in mainline church memberships, and then there was a falling off from that at about the same level. So we had this bubble of mainline membership, just as we've had a kind of bubble of evangelical church membership in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that's also declining now. So it's just my attempt to say there's more to the story than meets the eye. Carl.
Ted,
Yes.
you're also known as somewhat of a Dallas historian, and
Yes.
Especially in the Lake Highlands area.
Thank you.
Can you share with the club any particular anecdotes or historical things that would be of interest to us?
In fact, the only times I've ever spoken to Rotary before were occasions on which I talked about Dallas history, and I love doing that, and usually what I can do is bring my own high-resolution images and video and so forth and talk about where we are right now. Right now we're sitting between two old trails. Y'all know about the Preston Trail that came roughly north and south from the Red River, where lots of early settlers came into this area. But over on this side is North Greenville Avenue. Our house is about 2 doors down from North Greenville Avenue, a winding road that you can easily spot as a very, very old trail. And North Central Expressway was laid out beside it along an alternative trail that actually went to McKinney and Bonham and up to the river. So anytime I'm in this area, I'm thinking about the fact that I'm sitting between two historic trails. And I'm fascinated with the early history of Dallas. I'm an 18th century historian, so there isn't a lot of history in Dallas in the 18th century. There is some Native American history, interesting things happening, groups being forced from the east into this area. And in the 18th century, Spanish and French conflict in this area. If you know where Spanish Fort is, about 100 some odd miles north and a little bit west of here, that was the site in the 1750s of a conflict between Spanish and French settlers. The French had put up their French national flag over a fort there, and it was a fascinating conflict, but little knowledge of the prehistory, you might say, of the Dallas area. So Carl, that's some of what I like to talk about. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Excellent speech.
Thank you.
I was wondering what your thoughts are. I would like to think that social media and politicians have only cheapened the public discourse in this country, and this has contributed to the problem that you talk about.
Yes, I have to share your general opinion. Now, I say that being a big fan of social media. I've got friends who've just completely given up on it, and family members who've given up on it, but I've got one group that is my Boy Scout troop that I grew up with in Beaumont, Texas, and it's just fantastic. We're all in touch. My elementary school, there's never been anything quite like this that can connect people like it does, and yet, because it's so segmented and encourages segmentation, I think it has that very dangerous effect of putting us in the little bubbles where we hear the stuff we want to hear, we shield ourselves from the stuff we don't want to hear. I think that overall that makes discussion much more difficult. But you guys know how to do it because you've got the fourfold test, and I commend you on that and commend the work of the Park Cities Rotary Club. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a gifted speaker. You can incorporate Salvation Army, the 4-way test. Be kind of nice to follow you around and see how you incorporate other things. That's great. Next week's program, Laura, you may find this of interest. We'd love to have you both back. Next week's speaker is Laura Collins, the director of the Bush Institute. So I guess there's a lot of Laura Collins in Dallas. That's great. So we'll have Laura Collins, the director of the Bush Institute. Her program is Out of Many, 1 Portraits of America's Immigrants by President George W. Bush. Karen Ferris is the chair. It's going to be a really great program. So we look forward to seeing you next week for that. And Ms. Joy Gold is going to provide our membership minute.
Hi everyone. 2 things really quick for Bonton Farm. So for those of you that know, we go down on Fridays to Bonton Farms and we pack food. It starts at 3 o'clock, usually for about an hour and a half. And we have a few people that are out, so if you are available, I would encourage you to meet us down there and help us pack some food down there. Next thing is from our district membership chair. For next month, for September, we are inviting you all to bring a guest to Rotary. So if you have a church member, a local business owner, I know Holly, who usually make these announcements, was invited by someone on LinkedIn, and that's how she became a Rotary member. So we encourage you, and I always tell everybody, believe it or not, I am a little bit of an introvert, so we talk about a couple of things that we'd like for you to be able to do, from the peanut butter job to the Mazzaro next month to district club membership to Bonton Farm. So even if you can't do all of this, just pick one of the things, take a start of what we talked about today, and we'd love to kind of see you around and about outside of the meetings here. Thank you.
And now Ms. Siobhan Abraham is going to lead the 4-way test. And before you leave, don't forget to sign up to be an assistant sergeant at arms or a photographer.
Four-way test, here we go, disciplining our tongues. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?